Hi everyone, this is section 2 of our class. My name is Sarah, I'm one of the physios at the Body Mechanics, and I'm going to take you through the second bit of our beginners Pilates class. The first bit concentrated on various things, but really we had you in one position the whole time. This class we're going to do two different positions. We're going to get onto all fours. We're also going to lie on our sides. If you have any problems with your wrists, and being on all fours in this position, you can go onto your knuckles. Alternatively, you can go onto your elbows. That's absolutely fine. If you have any issues lying on your side, what you can do is have a pillow underneath your head. If you need any other props, a pillow between your knees, that's absolutely fine. It won't change any of the exercises that we do. I'd rather you be comfortable in the position so that you can relax and therefore move well than be uncomfortable and really be struggling. So if you need to grab any props, go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to begin our warm-up now. Once again, because of the position of the camera, I'm going to do our warm-up in kneeling, but I'd like you all to do it in standing, please. So, standing warm-up, we're going to think about our posture again. We're going to shift our weight left to right. We're going to think about being equal through both feet. We're going to think about stacking the pelvis over the knees, over the feet. We're then going to move further up. We're going to think about stacking the thorax over the pelvis. We're then going to think about being nice and wide through the shoulders and the chest, and then thinking about someone pulling us up from the crown of our necks, our heads, to stack our heads on shoulders, on thorax, on pelvis, on knees, and on feet. So we're going to maintain this nice long position through our practice today, even though we do put our bodies in different positions. Okay, so moving on to the rest of our warm-up, we're going to start with a dumb waiter. We're going to be doing a little bit more arms for this section, so we need to warm up our shoulders a little bit more. So dumb waiter, elbows at your side, bent up, palms facing up to the ceiling. You're going to rotate both palms out and then come back in. And now, of course, everyone's going to have a different range that they can move through. Some of you will be more mobile and will be able to get out further. Some of you might have a little bit of arthritis in the shoulders or just not have such happy joints at the moment, so you'll get a much different range, and that's absolutely fine. Just carry on going for a few, just really warming up the shoulder joint. We'll do two more. Okay, and then coming on to shoulder rolls, I always suggest to people that we do shoulder rolls backwards only, because we're always bent over laptops or computers or knitting or gardening or making food all day. So I really always feel that we just need to do a backwards shoulder roll rather than a backwards and forward shoulder roll. Once you've done a few of those, pop your hands on your shoulders and we can do even bigger rolls. Once we've done a few of those, we can straighten arms out and do even bigger rolls. Really opening out that chest very, very nicely before we get down onto all fours. Okay, all right. Our next one is a rotation, so breathing up, bringing your arms up and then rotating. Left arm to the back, right arm to the front, bringing arms up again, and then rotating right arm behind and left arm in front. As I said earlier, this is a really, really nice one if you've been at your desk all day or in the garden for too long. It just gets everything moving and it feels so nice. So definitely one to incorporate into your daily routine if you're finding that you're getting a stiff neck or a stiff back. We'll do one more to the right and then come down. Okay, I'm going to get up into standing for our moonwalk and then for our roll down. So we did the moonwalk earlier in our first warm up. Once again, just moonwalking on the spot, really just to get the ankles and the knees moving. The focus today is on glutes and arms basically, and the thing that joins them is the abdominals, so we're always working quite hard on those. So our warm-up doesn't do too much legs, or not as much as what we did in the first the first section. Okay, coming down to your start position. And now what we're going to do is I'll roll down again. We're going to do 3, and on the third one we're going to get down onto hands and knees. So roll down, thinking about being nice and upright, and then taking a nice deep breath in to prepare. As you breathe out, chin onto chest, one vertebra at a time, rolling forwards, rolling down as far as you can get. Have a few breaths at the bottom, and then breathing out as you roll up again. I'll show you side on, breathing in, and then breathing out, pop chin onto chest, and then rolling all the way down as you breathe out. Breathing in and out at the bottom. It's such a lovely stretch. Enjoy being at the bottom. And then breathing out as you come back up. Thinking about stacking your spine nicely, being nice and tall. And then last one, breathing out as you roll down. Take a few nice deep breaths at the bottom here. Roll your neck side to side if you want to. Shake your arms out. It's really quite nice being upside down for a little while. And then we're going to get down onto all fours. If at any stage you find that your shoulders or elbows or wrists are taking strain, you can come back into a child's pose position. I have put them in to offload our upper bodies, but if you feel like you need to come back more often than I'm bringing you back, that's absolutely fine. Just to recap, the child's pose position is a position that we in the Pilates world have stolen from yoga, and it's coming back onto your feet with arms stretched out. If that's too uncomfortable for your shoulders, you can bring arms down to your side. If it's too uncomfortable on your knees, you can open your knees out to the edges of your mat and come down like that. Okay, so onto all fours. So thinking about our posture first of all, I always ask people to imagine that they've got a tray of tea or drinks, whatever your preference is, on their backs when they're thinking about being in this position. So what that means is we can't just sink into our shoulders and our back because we're going to spill that precious liquid. So you're really going to think about lifting up and out of your arms, being nice and open and strong through your upper back, but also lifting your tummy up slightly away from the floor so that we get a nice flat back through there. Now, some of us are a little bit flatter and some of us are a little bit more rounded. That's absolutely fine as long as you are in as flat a position as you can be. Okay, so our first exercise that we'll be doing today in this position is our Superman, and this is opposite arm and leg straightening and going out and away from us. We'll start with right arm and left leg, and as always, we'll breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our pelvic floor muscles, breathe in to hold, and breathe out to move arm and leg up and away. Breathe in and out here, and breathe out to come back. And then we're going to do the opposite one. So with this one, we really are working on most muscles in our body. We're also really challenging our balance. I always prefer people to do this really nice and slowly, but if you'd like to challenge yourself a bit more, you're welcome to go a little bit faster. If you want to challenge yourself even more, you can always pop your hands on a pillow to make you slightly unstable. That really is a very good balance challenge. What's very important to remember with this one is that we don't move that lower back too much. So don't bring that leg up too much, because then you're going to sink into your lower back and you're going to spill your drinks. So some of us will be able to get our legs up very high without moving our backs. Some of us won't be able to get up too high at all, and that's absolutely fine. That's just normal variation in anatomy. Okay, let's do one more on each side. Lovely. Come back into your child's pose and just give a little movement to your wrists. So little circles, get those fingers moving as well. Okay, back up onto all fours. If you find that your wrists are getting tight in this position, like I say, you can be on your knuckles or you can be on your elbows. That doesn't change the exercise at all. So the next exercise we're going to do is called rainbows, and we're making a rainbow with our feet. It's a nice happy exercise. So as always, breathing in to prepare, breathing out to set our centers, breathing in to prepare, and breathing out to straighten that leg. Now, you might need to play around with this a little bit because once again, everyone will be different. Essentially what we're doing is we're making a rainbow or painting a rainbow with our big toe. Okay, some of you might not find that it's comfortable to point. You can flex up, that's absolutely fine. We've still got our tray of drinks and we're literally just moving that leg. Okay, don't think too much about the breathing in this position. Just think about that beautiful, smooth movement. You're also going to start to feel your glute and your lower back, your tummy, your hamstring, your calf, and your shoulders, because of course you're working really, really hard to keep your tray of drinks nice and still. I really like this exercise because you can feel exactly where you're working, and I quite like feeling that I'm working hard. Right, let's do one more there and then we'll come back in. If you need a break, come back up and just give your wrists a twist. You can do your child's pose if you want to. For the rest of us, we'll get going on our next leg. So breathing in to prepare, breathing out to set your center, breathing in to prepare, breathing out to straighten that leg, and off we go. Once again, one side is going to be much more difficult than the other, and that's all about strength and control. So for me, this one you can probably see I'm a little bit more wobbly. My rainbow is not as round, it's a little bit flat, and my back wants to wobble a bit. That's purely because my left glute is weaker and less controlled than my right. So even though I'm concentrating very, very hard, it's much, much harder on this side for me than it is on the other side. Right, I can start to feel the burn. I'm hoping you can too. For those of you who want to make it slightly more difficult, you can just speed up the exercise. As long as you are controlling your back position, you've got your tray of drinks, you're not letting those glasses of Prosecco or cups of tea spill, that's absolutely fine. Like I said earlier, Pilates is all about control. So as long as you can control your movement, you can go as fast or as slowly as you want to. It really doesn't matter. Let's do one more. And then bring that knee in and back into our child's pose position. Give those fingers a little movement and give those wrists a little movement. Okay, right. Last exercise in this position, and this is one of my favorite exercises. I do this exercise often through the week as I get very stiff in my upper back. This is called thread the needle. It is one that we share with yoga. In Pilates, we do it slightly differently. I've combined the yoga and the Pilates exercise because I quite like the combination of the two. But if you have any shoulder problems, I will show you a modification for this. So, for those of you who've never heard of thread the needle, haven't done it before, we're imagining that first of all, our left-hand side is the eye of a needle. So the eye of a needle is formed by the mat, my arm, my trunk, and my leg. And that's the little hole there. We're going to imagine that our right hand is the thread and it goes through the eye of the needle. So let's get going. Breathing in to prepare, breathing out to set our centers, breathing in to prepare, breathing out to thread that needle all the way as far as you can. Breathing in to hold and breathing out to come all the way back up. Breathing in to hold and breathing out to thread that needle again. Breathing in to hold and breathing out to come all the way back up. And carry on going with this one. For those of you who have shoulder issues, or who find that that extension is just a little bit too much on your backs, you can do what is the more traditional Pilates exercise, which is just threading the needle and then coming back up to your starting position, threading the needle again and coming back up. Both are giving you a lovely rotation through your upper and your lower back, as well as across your shoulder blades. So it really doesn't matter if you can't do that lift up to the ceiling. All right, for those of you who are doing the combined one, let's do one more and come back down. Okay, come and take some weight off your wrists, just give them a little roll and get those fingers working. Okay, right. Next side, we're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to prepare, and breathe out as we thread our needle, and breathe out as we come up. Breathe in at the top, breathe out. So, as I said at the beginning of section 1, I really don't mind when you breathe in these exercises. Traditionally in Pilates, we breathe out during the most difficult part of the exercise, or when we're doing a mobilization exercise like this, we breathe out when we're moving, breathe in when we're static. It really doesn't matter as long as you're breathing. This is a brilliant exercise for if you have been static in a chair, bent over your computer, stressed on the phone, on Zoom calls, on WhatsApp. This is a fantastic one. It's so easy to do. You can just get down onto the floor. I wouldn't do it on a wooden floor. I'd always do it on a carpet or a rug or a mat. But it really is such a lovely one. Right, let's do one more. Okay, and down. Let's come back into our child's pose. Have a really nice stretch. Get those wrists moving, those fingers moving. If you want to, you can pop your hands at your side. Just still your body for a bit. Right, change of position. We're going to come down into side lying. Those of you who like a little bit of support under your head, please pop a cushion or a pillow there. Those of you who aren't too worried, you can either have your hand underneath your head and propping it up like that, or you can just pop your head on your outstretched arm like that. Our first exercise in side lying is going to be the clam, and for those of you who haven't done it, it is basically we're going to move our legs open and close like a clamshell does. This is a very, very difficult exercise to get right if you have weak or lazy glutes. So I'm just going to assume all of you have weak and lazy glutes, and I'm going to just modify the position a little bit. Okay, so in our traditional side lying position, we'd have knees bent, feet in line with hips, in line with shoulders, and then our arm would be, or our hand would be slightly in front of our shoulders. Hips would be stacked, knees would be stacked, and feet would be stacked. For our first clam, I'm actually going to get you to roll your top hip forward so that the top hip and knee are slightly in front of the bottom hip and knee. What this does is it puts the glutes at a mechanical advantage. It helps them to work a little bit harder, and it switches off all of the hip flexors in the front. If you find that this is uncomfortable for your back, just go back to a normal stacked position. Okay, so from this position, we are going to move just the top knee up and down. So let's breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to hold, and breathe out to just move that top knee up and then down and up again and down. And keep on going with this one. As you lift up and down, this pelvis is going to want to wobble a little bit. And so I often say to people, you can see a theme in my teaching, imagine you've got a cup of tea or a glass of champagne on this hip, and if you roll that hip forwards or backwards, you are going to topple that glass or that cup over. So really important to keep nice and still through there. If it helps, you can have your hand on your hip just to give it some proprioceptive feedback. The nice one about this one is you can really feel your glutes working. I can feel mine working. I can feel my upper hamstring working. If you're finding that you feel the front of your leg more than the back, that means that you are using the front of your leg too much. In that case, what I'd suggest is rolling forward just a little bit more and carrying on doing that. And then you'll feel that the glute works a little bit more. For those of you who are feeling the glute enough, just stay where you are. We'll do 2 more of these. And calm down. If you want to give that glute a little rub, go for it. It does get quite burny in there with that exercise. Right, so that was clam 1. We're going to stay on this side and we're going to do clam 2 in our third exercise, and then we'll roll on to the other side. So clam 2, exactly the same as clam 1, just a progression. If you found that clam 1 was fine in terms of level of difficulty, stay with clam 1. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, move with me to clam 2. So once again, rolling that top hip forward so that the right hip is just in front of the left hip, the right knee is just in front of the left knee. Pop both feet, which are still glued together, up into the air. Okay, so now we are increasing the challenge in terms of balance because we've got a smaller base of support, or we don't have our ankles and our feet on the floor. And now we have 2 areas to balance. We've got our cup of tea balancing on our hips and our cup of tea balancing on our ankles. So we've got 2 points of balance that we need to think about. Pop your hand on your hip if it helps, otherwise you can have it forward there. Exactly the same movement as we did in clam 1. So breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to hold, and breathe out to lift this knee up and bring it back down nice and slowly. So clam 2 is really where we see how nicely controlled our glutes are, because it's very, very easy to start letting that movement become very staccato and not smooth. So we're really focusing on getting a glide. If you find that you don't have a nice smooth movement, you just need to either make it smaller, make the movement smaller, or slow it down. That's absolutely fine. Or maybe you just need a rest, and that's fine too. We'll keep on going. The nice thing about clam 2 is that some of you may start to feel your bottom leg working, because now both feet are up in the air. That bottom leg is actually working quite hard to control our balance and to keep us nice and still. So you're getting a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom, which is great. I'm always keen on working a bit harder, make it more effective. Okay, let's do 2 more. And last one. There we go. Pop the legs down and give that glute a little rub. Okay, so our third exercise on this side is my absolute favorite exercise, which is arm openings. It's a mobilizing exercise, and it's really, really lovely for the lower back and the upper back and the shoulders. I always do it with my head down on the floor, but once again, if you're not happy with that, pop a pillow underneath. And if you also want to have a pillow between your knees, if your hips and your knees aren't comfortable being stacked like this, you're very welcome to have a pillow between there. Arm openings is a really, really lovely one to do. Once again, if you've been sitting all day at your computer, if you've been in the garden for too long, if you've been cooking for too long, if you're feeling a bit stressed, it's a lovely, lovely one to do. We're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to hold, and breathe out to lift our top arm up to the ceiling, and then rotate top arm and body all the way around and behind you. You're going to follow the movement with your head. Breathe in at the end, and breathe out as you bring everything back to your starting position. Breathe in to hold, breathe out to move that arm and that upper body all the way back. Try and see if you can get your arm onto the ground, your shoulder onto the ground. Breathe in to hold there, and then breathe out as you come all the way back. If you'd like to hold it a little bit longer at the end, you're absolutely welcome to do that. This can be a dynamic, which means a moving mobilization, or it could just be held as a nice static stretch. Whatever you feel your body needs, do that. If you feel you need a bit more of a stretch, what you can do is you can pop that top knee forward and anchor that top leg down a little bit more. Carry on with the same upper body movement, and you'll feel that you'll just feel a bit more of a stretch through your side trunk basically, and then a little bit more of a stretch through the front of your chest. But otherwise just keep those legs nicely stacked. Right, we are going to do one more after that. You could do this one forever, I love it. And then coming back. Okay, so those are our 3 exercises on the one side. Let's turn over onto the other side and we'll repeat those 3. So our first one is clam 1. So thinking about positioning before we get going, thinking about hips, knees and ankles being nicely stacked, thinking about still being nice and open through the front. We're all going to roll forward a little bit to give our glutes a mechanical advantage, and remember that we're trying to control the movement through here. So try and imagine that you've got your cup of tea or your glass of bubbles on your hip. Breathing in to prepare, breathe out to set your center, breathe in to prepare and breathe out as you lift that top hip up, and breathing out as you come down. Once again, you will notice that right and left is going to feel very different, and you might even get a different range of movement through those 2 sides. My left glute is weaker, and so my movement is a lot more shaky. It's not as smooth and beautiful, and also I can't get as much range because my glute just isn't strong enough to push me against my body's own resistance right at the end. That's absolutely fine. As long as I'm working to my maximum, that's all I can do. We have so many variations in our anatomy that it's perfectly normal to be asymmetrical, as long as we're pushing each side to its maximum, as long as we're striving for a bit of symmetry. Right, let's do 2 more. And last one. Okay, come down, have a little rest, give that glute a little rub if you need to. And let's move on to our clam 2. So once again, thinking about rotating that top hip forward to give our glute a mechanical advantage. We're going to keep the feet glued together. We're going to lift up those feet off the floor, and we're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out to set our centers, breathe in to hold, and breathe out to lift that top knee up, and breathe in to come back down. And you'll really be aware of the asymmetry now that the feet are off the floor. As you can see, I'm definitely more wobbly on this side, even though I'm concentrating very hard. So this is a very important one for me to do for this left glute. Okay, let's keep on going. You should be feeling the burn by now. I can feel the top glute working. I can feel the bottom glute and hamstrings working. I can feel everything below the waist working. I'm really focusing on keeping my glass of champagne balanced on my hip and on my feet. Those 2 balance points we're really thinking about. I'm also aware that as my body is a little bit more tired now, I'm probably going to tense up at the top, really trying to keep things nice and loose and relaxed up at the top. Let's do 2 more. And calm down. Give a little rub if you need to. The hard work is finished. So now we've got our arm openings to finish off our class with, and then we'll do a few little stretches afterwards. So bringing these arms forward, make sure hips, knees and feet are nicely stacked. Make sure you're comfortable with your head position. Breathe in to prepare and breathe out to set your center, breathe in to hold, breathe out to lift the top arm up, and rotate the whole of the upper body around. Follow your hand with your head, breathe in at the end, and breathe out to return to your starting position. Breathe in to hold, breathe out as you rotate up and around. Breathe in to hold at the end and breathe out as you come forward. Remember, if you'd like a little bit more of a stretch, you can pop that top leg forward. Or you can just keep legs stacked one on top of the other. You'll also notice with this that there will be an asymmetry in your back mobility. So you'll be able to move better on the one side than the other. I definitely can move better on my left side, so the side we're on now, because I use my right arm a lot more at work. So my right shoulder and chest area is a lot tighter. But for those of you who are working at laptops, you're probably pretty stiff, pretty equally. So we're aiming for about 10 of these each side, unless you want to do more. For those of you who want to hold at the end, you can hold and just breathe in and out and enjoy the static stretch. For those of you who are moving, we're going to do one more. And then come back. Okay, that is the end of our section 2. We're just going to do a few quick stretches like we did at the end of section 1. If you're going on to do other exercise now, whether it's a walk or a run, don't bother to do your stretches, do them when you get home. But if this is the end of your exercise session with me, then please do the stretches with me. So lying on your back, crossing the ankle over the knee, lifting both up towards you and feeling that stretch through the glute and into the upper hamstring. Try to breathe into the stretches, try to be as relaxed as you can. The more you breathe and relax into it, the better it is for your muscles and your body. Take that leg down, let's change over sides. We're going to do our hamstring now, so hug your knee into your chest, and if you're doing a dynamic hamstring stretch with me, you're going to flex your foot up, straighten that leg as much as it can, and then come back down slowly. Carry on doing that a few times. If you're doing a static hamstring stretch, point the toe up to the ceiling and hold that leg up there into your end of range so that you get your hamstring stretch. As I said earlier, not very much difference between a static and a dynamic stretch. I just have very tight hamstring muscles, so I prefer doing a dynamic stretch. I just find it works better, but you do whatever your body prefers. That's absolutely fine. Okay, if you're doing the dynamic stretch, one more, and then come down. Let's change sides, hug the knee in, flex the foot up. If you're doing the dynamic stretch, slowly in and out. If you're doing the static stretch, point the toes up to the ceiling, keep that knee hugged and then hold that there. Keep on breathing, try and relax as much as you can. Maybe give your neck a little movement. Take that head side to side. We haven't worked too much on our necks today directly, but if you think about being on all fours and trying to make sure your tray of drinks doesn't move, your neck is working very hard to keep your head in a nice position. Right, let's come down. The last one we're going to do is our windscreen wipers. So place the feet nice and wide on the edges of your mat, arms out to the sides or down, and you're going to rotate both legs over and windscreen wiper your legs. Really feel that nice stretch through the side of the thigh and up into the side of the trunk. You'll maybe also feel the stretch in your lower back, your upper back. You might even feel the stretch through the front of the legs. Keep on breathing as we do this. If you want to hold at the end, you can. If you find that a static stretch is more beneficial to you, then please do that static stretch. Do one more each side. And then come back to a resting position. All right, that's the end of our section 2, and that is the end of our class. I really hope you enjoyed that. For those of you who hadn't done Pilates before, I hope that it's really sparked an interest in Pilates as an exercise modality. It's a really fantastic way to get your body moving, to get your brain focused on what your body's doing, and also just to calm your whole system. For those of you who've done Pilates before, I hope you found the class challenging enough. I hope I gave you enough progressions and variations so that you could really push your bodies. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said earlier, if you do have any queries or questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at the Body Mechanics. We are still working virtually via Zoom and other modalities. Thanks very much, and I hope you all stay safe and well. Bye.